So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 15 versus iPhone 15 Pro months later. So I want to talk to you about my thoughts, my experiences, and review these phones after this is 7 months now being on the market. And as owner of both, I have quite a few things to share with you. First thing I want to talk about is how do I feel about the price to value ratio, or how much did I feel like I got my money's worth on each. I actually think that if you do a trade-in, the iPhone 15 is a really nice phone for a trade-in. Like if you get a discount on it, I do think it's slightly overpriced, about $100, just because it doesn't have 120 hertz. I don't like 829, 929 for a phone like this if you go up in storage, simply because of that. But overall, I still really like the iPhone 15. I actually have my SIM card in here for now, my eSIM. Well, there's no physical SIM in this US model, but I have my SIM in here because I'm doing a challenge. I want to see how long I could last on the iPhone 15 without getting mad at the 120 hertz, and I'll report back later. But price to value, I think it's being the same price as before, but giving you a more 14 Pro kind of feel with dynamic island. We have the 48 megapixel camera. It feels quite nice. Price to value on the 15 Pro, I actually feel like it's every bit worth it. It has better battery longevity, and it's just better than the 14 Pro in terms of the feel. You know, it's got a smoother, lighter feel to it. Action button on board. USB-C on both of them, but I do feel like the 15 Pro definitely feels like the enthusiast choice. It feels more worth the price. Like you pay big bucks, but it doesn't really compromise in any areas. You have the dynamic island you're used to, super thin bezels, USB-C, titanium build, display port. You can connect this to external drives and stuff like that. You can connect this to your monitor, and there's just a lot you can do with this phone, and it has the faster chipset. So I do feel like for its price, there's no real major compromises, so it felt more worth its price. So let's talk about the battery life. Months later between both of them, which one was the better battery experience? I have to say I lasted a little bit longer on the iPhone 15 than the 15 Pro. Now you can see I've used the 15 Pro a little bit more. I have 27 cycles on there, barely 7 on here. So not a ton of usage on my 15 in terms of, charging it, cycling it. But I found that in my experience, the 15 slightly lasts longer than the 15 Pro. Probably about 30 to 45 minutes of screen time. If I'm lucky, maybe an hour or so. But that usually doesn't happen. It's somewhere within an hour, lasting longer. And I think that might be because of the ProMotion display. I'm not sure, maybe the more powerful chip. I also found that the iPhone 15 Pro heats up a little bit more, but both of these phones heat up a little bit more than prior phones, and the 15 is no exception. So battery life though, the 15 would be my pick over this time. I also like how when you turn low power mode on, there's no difference in the display because it is 60 hertz. You don't really notice it. So I can leave that mode on all day and not really care. But with this one, I enjoy my 120 hertz ProMotion, but when I turn on low power mode to save some battery, then I'm basically rocking out with 60 hertz, which I don't really like that switch. So I prefer the battery life experience on the iPhone 15. Just keep that in mind if you're looking for one that has the better battery life in my experience. 15 versus 15 Pro months later when it comes to their cameras. So let's go ahead and bring in my Ford GT right here. I will tell you that the camera, obviously, you have the macro mode here for the iPhone 15 Pro. It feels like it does every single thing you need nowadays, like in your pocket. My only con is that why does this one only have 15 times and the Pro Max has 25? I don't like that difference because the difference in price is not massive between the Max and this one. I really want to see the same camera on the smaller one as the more premium or the more higher end, or not even higher end, the bigger version of this. 4K 60, you can even shoot in the macro mode, action mode. It has it all, and raw features, plenty of those. On the front-facing camera, this hasn't really changed drastically over the years. It's still better, but it's not like insanely better. They haven't really upgraded the megapixel count or anything like that. So we're still waiting for a major upgrade to the front-facing camera. Maybe that'll happen this year. The iPhone 15, though, has been surprisingly, shockingly good. I don't know if that was like, did I say two words that mean basically the same thing? But it's been surprisingly good here. I feel like now more than ever, with the base 48 megapixel camera, the ability to crop in on that sensor at 2 times, go 10 times, you have a fantastic result. Of course, no macro mode, but if you back it out wide, you can just use a wide angle to get some macro shots if you really, really want them. Also, the video is barely any different. It's basically the same thing. The cinematic video is strong. And then you have action video on here as well. I don't feel like I'm missing out on much. And I really like the front-facing camera. It's basically the same as the Pro. I don't feel like with the camera department, I'm missing out on too much this year versus the 15 Pro. What I mean is that most users of the 15, they have more than enough than ever before. Versus before with the weak 5x zoom on the older iPhones. It's just the best base model camera ever on an iPhone, and I'm super happy with it. I do want to see us get a little bit better with the front-facing camera on both these models. Just a newer camera. We've been having the same one for years. But other than that, if we can go 15 times on a future base and maybe like 30 on the regular, that would be a nice update. But there's not really much I think the average consumer is going to need more than an iPhone 15 at this point. When it comes to software, there's zero difference. Of course, you're running it smoother on the Promotion on the right, but it's the app library. It's the nice widgets with iOS. It's the consistent software support. There are some bugs here and there that do present themselves from time to time, and some people have complained about that and continue to do so. That's why there's plenty of channels out there that mostly focus on iOS software updates to help you figure out, what's coming and what's new. They do have to get a lot of updates because, you are running a mass amount of people out there running these phones. So there's going to be bugs on here, but usually they run pretty flawlessly most days. And it's one of my favorite operating systems. It's just super smooth. It just runs really good and it has a lot of polish to it. Everything kind of feels in sync. And even though iOS is kind of getting older at this point, I do think we're going to see some major changes with iOS 18 this year. So it's going to be an exciting year with the AI updates. I even think we're going to see some changes in the looks. Maybe it's going to look a little different too, the icons and stuff. That would be pretty exciting. I look forward to covering those comparisons, so be subscribed. Now, in terms of performance, an area that I'm lowering down on the list, I'm going to start covering the performance lower down on the list now because we do speed tests so you can just see it there. I've been rocking this 15. This is now, I put my SIM in there about 4 days ago. I'm doing this like 30-day challenge thing. I'll come back and report back later. But I'm starting to feel the same way I did with the 15 Plus. You just kind of forget about it after a couple of days. When you come back here, you do notice it. You're like, man, this is so much smoother. But I don't really think it changes your life in any way. It's just kind of a smoother feel. Definitely makes it feel like you're getting a nicer display on the 15 Pro. But for the average user, the practicality standpoint, day-to-day practical usage, nobody's going to be staring at that. They're just going to be opening their apps and doing what they got to do and be on their way. So performance-wise, the A16 in here from the Apple iPhone 14 Pro is still very good. It has 6 gigs of RAM. That upgrade in RAM also allows this phone to probably have longer software support than you would expect. And it just performs really strong. Now over here, this makes you feel like you have the top dog on the iPhone 15 Pro because of the Promotion, but also because of this console level capable chipset here. And some people do have some merit when they say, but who's going to do that on their phone? Most people won't, but the fact that you have it does give you bragging rights. 8 gigs of RAM is the most RAM ever on an iPhone, but I don't know how much how much that's going to support the generative AI features that are rumored to come. So maybe the RAM is going to go up, but I think the Pros are going to run this AI stuff the absolute best of any iPhone. So if you're looking forward to AI enhancements, you'll want the Pro. But if you're like, I don't really care about that too much, I'm not going to use it that much, you'll be fine with the base 15. So what about the build and feel? Which one did I feel like felt better in the hand? And I got to tell you, I like the 15. The 15 is lighter. I like its looks. It just kind of looks super smooth here on the edges. Has that diagonal camera, which is okay. I would prefer it to be vertical, but it's pretty nice. USB-C, the edges are just very smooth, not sharp at the corner. It's just a gorgeous phone here. I really like its shape and feel. It just feels light, practical. It's one of the best feeling iPhones, I feel like, since the 11 Pro series, the 10s series. It's definitely great. It feels much better in hand than the iPhone 13, 12, and the iPhone 14. Now, the iPhone 15 Pro feels nearly similar, but I don't really like its density. It's got this dense, heavier feel to it, much lighter than previous Pros, but it's top heavy because of these heavy cameras up here. This area just feels heavier than on the iPhone 15. And to me, it feels like a baby brick in your pocket. Not like the previous Pros that were even heavier than this, but it's got too much density compared to the 15. I just really like the feel of the 15. It's got this feather lightweight to it. The 15 Pro just feels a little heftier, and it doesn't give you better battery for that either. That's the weird thing. But definitely I would prefer the feel in hand of the iPhone 15. Now, in terms of the looks and design, this one's tough, but I would say the iPhone 15 looks better as well. That's just my take. The iPhone 15 Pro looks more premium. It looks more the enthusiast choice, but that camera housing looks absolutely massive on that phone. It doesn't look proportional. Like the phone here, like it's got a lot of it's not that much space. It looks better on the 15 Pro Max, but on the smaller Pro, it just stands out big time, which is nice if you like camera photography, but I feel like this just fits this body a little bit more. So looks wise, I prefer the iPhone 15, but the iPhone 15 Pro, especially in some of these nice colors like this one right here, the titanium blue, or the silver, they look really good as well. So I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying, all the iPhones are premium and look nice, but personally, I think the aesthetically more pleasing look this year, I think, is the 15, especially on the matte black. But you're not going to go wrong here either. This is a gorgeous Pro phone, and I think it looks better than the 14 Pro personally. But I like the way the 14 Pro's sides felt. They felt more premium with that stainless steel. And the display quality. The iPhone 15 and 15 Pro get the same brightness. However, they don't get the same promotion. So we get promotion over here on the right, the same resolution though. So literally it's one change mostly. It's the text. I think the bezels, I'm not exactly sure. I've been trying to look closely, but I do think the bezels are ever so slightly thinner on the iPhone 15 Pro, but it's tough to see. It really is a little bit tough to see there. On the whole, the text sharpness, you could see, the bezels look slightly thinner, if I'm not mistaken, on the 15 Pro. It's not that drastic though. It's much better on the 15 than prior iPhones, but both having dynamic island on this display, they have nearly the same experience. Text sharpness is pretty great on both OLED panels, and they both have true tone and all the stuff you need to keep your eyes comfortable. I personally put on in the accessibility in the control center, I usually have the color filters and the reduced white point for nighttime to make this an even more comfortable display. So overall, I'm not disappointed with either. I just think that the 120 should come to the base as well. From a connectivity standpoint, the 15 and 15 Pro do very good. Decent 5G performance on both of them. I still find some Samsung phones are better in more tighter spaces like offices, basements, just like harder to reach locations. I find my Galaxy S line to do a little better there. USB-C is similar, but we do have a faster transfer on the iPhone 15 Pro. Got a little dirt on there. We have a faster transfer on this phone. The iPhone 15 though, it's decent, but it's just not as powerful as the USB-C on the 15 Pro. So that's how they separated them a little bit as well. So the audio difference between both of these was nil to none. It wasn't even a full decibel in my testing, about 0.5 decibels, about half a decibel to the 15 Pro. It was a hair difference. So the audio firing out the speakers for you is not going to be drastic either way you go. So I don't think you're going to get 15 Pro. Like it's a Pro, I'm going to get Pro audio, better audio. Not really. It's basically similar. And wrapping it up though, 6E, Wi-Fi 6E is on here. That's one, helpful thing. This also has a little bit better GPS signals and positioning. That's something to keep in mind as well. But overall, both of these phones definitely both have the emergency SOS satellite features, the ability to have ultra wideband support, the UWB2 on here. That's quite nice. And both have Face ID. The battery is a little smaller on the 15 Pro, but it comes in multiple colors: white titanium, blue titanium, natural, and black. And then over here, the colors can be a little bit more pastel-y on the back, a little bit more off. You know, they're not as like vibrant in your face, but black, blue, green, yellow, pink. You have quite a few options when it comes to these products. So I want to wrap it up here and give you my final take on these. In conclusion, all things considered, the iPhone 15 Pro months later is clearly a better phone when we talk about specifications. It's the enthusiast choice. It's a photographer's choice. It's somebody who really prefers premium flagship smartphones and they don't want a massive one. I like that this option exists. It's a really high-end compact flagship phone. The 15 has a great improvement for base iPhone users who feel like they don't want to miss out on the latest features, some of the latest features, but they're okay sacrificing a 120 hertz. If that's you, you'll absolutely love the iPhone 15. So months later, if I could only choose one, if I was down to only one, I'd probably pick the 15 Pro. But I do like the aesthetics. I do really like a lot of the options on the base model, and I think they're taking the base model in the right direction. So it's exciting for base iPhone users coming soon. Well, I think every year it's getting tougher and tougher to enhance the Pro experience. So I'm really excited to see where they go with the Pro and maybe the Max and the Ultra and these more higher end iPhones, because those seem like they're a little bit challenging to keep making better year over year, as the regular base models still need some upgrades. Those seem like they need some more upgrades, and they probably will come. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. I'll catch you all in the next episode. By the way, the iPads are on their way May 7th at the Let Loose event, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.